there was this chick that used to work for me a number of years ago, and she was telling me her fiance. I mean, you guys will like this story. Was taking these pills, and to try to keep his hair. And I mean, it was kind of working, but then she also started to complain that his sexual function went in the toilet, and that's when she started hitting on me big time too, right? So, is that a side effect that affects all men? Is it some men? Like, how does that work?
That's the $1 million
Because I
question.
mean, like,
We're
what's the
really
point in having hair if you're not, able to perform,
right.
right? Because I mean, you want to have hair to look good, I would imagine.
So we wrote an article literally last week. So this is again, perfect timing. And no, Richard and I planned this 2 months ago. But we wrote an article last week, my copywriter and I, on the dangers of DHT and estrogen inhibition in both men and women. Okay. Now I won't go into estrogen inhibition today, but this means for all of you guys who use testosterone or bodybuilders who use therapeutics at whatever,
We've already covered
blocking
that in
your
cast
estrogen,
before.
blocking your estrogen by using an AI is literally killing you. It's shortening your lifespan. That's not debatable anymore. The science is very conclusive on that. So if you're using an AI and you're watching the show right now, stop immediately or you are shortening your lifespan. I will definitely mention that all the bodybuilders who have died in the last 2 months, without mentioning names, I could guarantee you that if you did an autopsy and you looked at their vasculature, you would see microfissures in all of those vascular lines, which led to their heart attack / disease and why they died. And this is all because they were using SERMs and AIs. That's a whole nother conversation for another day, but I work with the world's leading expert on that named Dr. Scott Howell. Okay. He is the world's leading androgen and epidemiologist. He can conclusively prove that if you're blocking your estrogen, you're shortening your lifespan. Now, in that same article, blocking dihydrotestosterone, which is DHT, is also damaging your cellular end caps or your telomeres, as you and I already talked about earlier in the show, that you use
right?
epetalon for. So you're literally damaging the cellular life that you have in your DNA by doing all of these things. And again, without going into details, it's all in the article. All the science is in the article. So for men and women who are using, and by the way, Richard, a lot of women are using DHT inhibitors. It's really sad.
Are they really? Why?
Yeah, they suffer from hormonal hair loss. And of course, the docs write them scripts for that too.
Oh, so they get scripts for finasteride,
Oh,
detasteride?
yeah.
Like, really?
Oh, yeah.
No
It's
kidding.
crazy. Yeah, it's insane. But so here's the thing. If you're using these, because you asked the original question, do all men and women who use these suffer from sexual dysfunction? No. And that's what's so weird is that there are some people that don't, but the great majority who are honest do. And there's actually, as you know, Richard, a syndrome now recognized by the medical industry called PFS, post-finasteride syndrome, that men and women suffer from using these, mostly men. It's mostly shown in men, but there are a lot of women that have this issue who become literally clinically depressed. And even after cessation of using these horrible toxic drugs, never recover. I've actually lost 2 close personal friends to suicide who used DHT inhibitors for a long time in their life and suffered, from PFS, were in forums, were in communities with other men, and they killed themselves. Okay. Now this goes back 10 years when it was a lot less known and I knew nothing about DHT inhibition causing this issue, but now we know. And so the bottom line is if you are a man or a woman, and I'm sure you have a lot of women that watch your show, bro,
Not as
and
many
you're
as you
using,
think.
and you're using DHT inhibitors, stop immediately. Now we're going to talk on how you can withdraw. And again, Richard's going to link an article that we've already written with one of the world's top doctors on how to
It's on your
withdraw.
website, on your blog, right? Because I didn't dig them up from the email. So if you guys go to, it's jcampbell.com.
It's actually somebody cyber squatting on mine. It's JAY middle initial C. So jccampbell.com.
Jason, okay, yeah. So it's on his blog, and it's the most recent ones. I'm gonna dig them up through the email, and I'll put them in the description after the show.
Yeah. So Ben, just so you know, Ben Greenfield wanted to launch these articles from his site because he's obviously got a lot more viewers and a lot more people visiting his site than mine. So he launched part 1 and part 2 of this article in June. And as far as I know, they were 2 of the most read articles ever in the history of his site, right? So then we took the full article and we put it on my site, but you guys can Google this and it'll come up, with attribution to Ben. And as you just said too, Nick and I did a podcast with Ben talking about this back in June, and it was, it's a firestorm. Now, a lot of doctors in the hair loss world, even hair transplant surgeons, are new to this information. Okay. And this is, like I said, this is a disruptive, methodology and theory, but it's backed by science, and it will be borne out by the evidence and proven that this is correct. So what we came to the conclusion in the article of, Richard, is that DHT inhibition is at best a secondary downstream effect of hair loss prevention, but it almost does nothing in hair regrowth. And obviously any person who is desiring to regrow their natural hair has to use agents that will do that. Again, increasing red blood cell or at red blood flow to the scalp. And that's what we'll talk about next.
All right. I've got, I don't know. Can I show them the pictures here, Jay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here, I sent you a picture a few weeks ago because I had just run out of the stuff that you had sent me, and I was like, let me just see what it looks like. You don't notice any differences. You're spraying some stuff on your face or your hair like day by day, but I did do a before picture and then an after. I'll show you mine first, and mine isn't as profound as what Jay's was. I'll show you Jay's in a second, but that's what I had sent out. I don't know. That was like a month ago or a few weeks. Sorry, that was October 20th. So that was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So this is the before shot of my scalp, and this is the after shot. It's more hair for sure. And the one thing, I wasn't expecting much to begin with, because I'm like, whatever, this stuff. Okay, fine. Send it over, Jay. Let me try it out. But after I looked at the after picture and I sent it over to you, I was like, it looks like this stuff works. And I know that it worked a lot better on you than it did on me. The other thing too is, and I'll just be honest with you, you guys know that I'm on therapeutic testosterone, but I've also used Primobolan, during the summertime as well, for about 6 to 8 weeks on top of my therapeutic testosterone, which increases DHT in your serum blood levels, which is great for building muscle and losing fat, and they stack really well together. I'm a fan of it. I get good results from it. Yep. Vigorous Steve. I don't know if you know Steve.
Sounds familiar, maybe, probably.
He's this Dutch guy that lives in Thailand. I did a cast with him about a month or two ago. He's got great information on his YouTube channel.
Wait, what's his last name?
I don't know what his last name is, but his YouTube channel is Vigorous Steve.
You need to connect me with him. Sounds awesome.
Yeah. And he loves stacking, testosterone with Primobolan. Like, that's his go-to. So I was like, I'm going to give this a try. The side effect is if you're predisposed to losing hair due to androgenic alopecia, then it's just going to accelerate it. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I just shaved my head. Who cares? But even with Primobolan, I still ended up with, like a little more density than what I had, before, which is all fine and dandy. The other thing I noticed too, I don't know if you can tell by the pigment, because I was looking at the comments and somebody noticed it over here too, and they said something along of skin looks healthier.
Yep. That's exactly
and he's right. The skin tone here is way like more, I don't know how to define it, but it just looks healthier than it did before. And that's as a byproduct of the hair product plus the skin product. We'll talk about the skin peptides as well, but those are my results. Here's Jay's. Let me try to go.
So I think it's on the product page now. Just go to Boxano.
Okay, because you guys have like eyelash stuff and
it's the left one right there. Top left.
This one here? Yeah.
Yep. And by the way, these pictures are old too now. So like my regrowth is even more pronounced. It's pretty crazy. I think you might buy it. Where is it? Where did they take it?
There it is.
Go. Right there.
So that was you before you started to grow your hair back. Like you actually started to lose your hair.
Yep.
Then you shaved your head. Then you got
that's Vantis. That's Vantis right there.
That's Vantis. Okay, so that's after you did the scalp micropigmentation?
That's literally, dude, as you remember, my hair was like patchy. When you and I met each other in 2019, remember, I just had like patches of hair, and I even told you.
Do you have a before and after picture of like Vantis?
I do. So I would just tell you, just like all you do is go on my channel and search my podcast. You'll see my hair, the way it was. And then, the guys at Vantis were like, bro, just come down here. Cause I literally was like you. I was like, fuck this. I'm going to just go Chrome Dome.
Here it is. Here it is. I found it.
Yeah, you'll
found
see.
it. So let's show your scalp before you actually got the micropigmentation, because that's like the head tattoo thing.
Totally.
Here we go. So add to stream, because this will give you a clearer picture of what his
There
head
you
looked
go.
like before he got it tattooed.
That's exactly right.
Oh, crying out loud. There we go. So that's before here, right?
That's perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So
literally
that's
it right there. So you can see when my hair would grow back, I'd have patches.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly right. So that's where I was going to go. I was just going to stay with Vantis and be like, cool.
Just keep your head
as you
shaved.
know, the story is a listener was listening to Ben Greenfield's podcast. He was talking to Ian Mitchell, the guy who's a big C60 guy. And he's like, hey, man, C60 works to regrow hair. All you have to do is put it in your hair.
And that's
And
the
we already
peptide that you're
knew.
talking about.
Carbon 60.
Carbon 60 is like the main ingredient in it, right?
It's along with the GHK, which is the copper peptide. But yeah, so this guy calls us up and he's like, dude, check my hair out. I've been using carbon 60 and GHK together. He was using a script version of GHKCU. And when he sent the pictures to me and Nick, we were like, that's bullshit. There's no way.
Yeah.
And, so then Nick's like, all right, well, being the guinea pig that he was, I'll start testing it. And then he sent it to me. And the rest is history. I mean, it's like, holy shit. And as you know, when we launched this product in 2020 on June 5th, we sold out completely in the first month. And then when we got it back, which was the secondary version, because the first version was MCT oil carbon 60. Now, everybody who follows us knows the story, and it was too thick. It still worked great, but it was MCT oil is constitutionally too thick, and it would make your hair too greasy. So version 2 was what it is now, and we're improving this, by the way, coming, but it's grapeseed oil extract. So you know that. It's a very thin mist of an oil. Again, it's oil-based in the carbon 60, and then that's serum B. Serum A is copper peptide, which is like a blue mist in a water-based aqueous.
Why does it have to be in two separate bottles? Like
because right now it's a good question. When we got our patent, it's a provisional patent and we're working on the permanent patent. We had to cover multiple delivery systems. And in order to get it to a place where we could actually get it into people's hands so we could help them right away, the only way we could do it was to have two versions, the aqueous, which is the copper peptide GHKCU, and that's serum A, and then serum B, which is carbon 60, is an oil-based, nanomolecule. And the only way you can actually put that in a solution is oil. Now, version 3, which is coming from us next year, probably pretty soon, sooner rather than later, will be a one-phase product, and it'll be liposomal. So a liposomal product, you can put an oil-based solution inside an aqueous-based solution, and they will stay together and they will not separate. So that's just a formulation thing, and that's coming. But, as you know, once we launched in same time, it's crazy. I'm having flashbacks, but we launched on Black Friday version 2 last year, and we sold out in 2 days. And every single bottle that we shipped, which were really high-end bottles, by the way, had gold tips and everything, broke because the peptides expanded in the neck of the bottle at our manufacturer, not our manufacturer, but our 3PL, our logistics company in Kansas City, because at the end of November, early December last year, they had a 20-degree below zero cold snap come through. And so they're all sitting there at the facility to go out. We had this huge Black Friday sale, and they broke. And for 2 months, all I got was emails from people saying, hey, bro, I'm going to need a refill.
Got a question here from Santiago. He's asking, so what peptide might be used instead of finasteride? Do you mix microneedling? So the peptide is right there. And here, I'll drop it in the live chat, but it's also in the description. So if you guys go to the description of the video, there's a link to Acer Custom. And Jay was kind enough to give me a 15% coupon code. So use Rich15 on the checkout if you want to grab some of this stuff. What about microneedling? Like, what's your position on that?
So that's an amazing question. So my official Jay Campbell and Richard Cooper position is use microneedling. But from a Jay Campbell co-founder, of Acer Custom, I can't go on my website and say that because it's a quote unquote invasive procedure. And then we would have to be considered, a clinical product by the FDA. So microneedling and what's the other thing that you do that people always talk about?
Derma rolling.
Rolling. So microneedling and derma rolling is a profound enhancement to our product. Now, one other thing, and I want to go deep on this. How long we got? We still got 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, I can probably go for about another 25 or so.
Okay, awesome. So the other thing that's important to really dramatic, because now we're talking about, hair regrowth. Okay. We already know that we don't want to use DHT inhibitors to suppress dihydrotestosterone. And let me take a step back because we didn't cover this, and this is important. You'd never want to block any kind of God-made biological process. Estrogen, dihydrotestosterone, only bad things come about when you're suppressing, again, natural biological systems. What you already said it, but I'll go deeper. And again, this is in the article. When you suppress dihydrotestosterone, you limit synaptic, dendritic, serotonergic, I mean, basically every brain pathway that's necessary for cognition and mood are being hammered. So, and this is, again, it's in the article. And again, I'm trying not to scare you guys. It's not my intention, but you are literally creating amyloid plaque buildup by suppressing dihydrotestosterone, which, as you guys know, is what leads to neurodegenerative disorder, Alzheimer's, dementia,
right,
Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's. I mean, all of these things are horrific if you're doing this. So again, stop using DHT inhibitors, start focusing on how do I improve blood flow to my scalp. So with our product, which again is called Oxano Grow, you can derma roll, microneedle. You can even just aggressively massage your hair and your scalp every day. Now, one thing that's important.
What would be the sequence with microneedling or derma rolling when applying a product like this to your scalp? Is it before, then you wait, then you apply? Is it you apply, then you do the rolling or the microneedling? Like, what's the sequence for that offline?
I mean, there's no real right answer. I mean, you could do both. I mean, you could definitely microneedle, put on Serum A, which is water-based, and then massage that in, and then put on, wait 3 minutes or whatever for the water to absorb into the skin. I mean, it really also depends on the level of the microneedling and derma rolling you're doing. Like if you
do like a 1 mil or 1.5 mil.
Exactly. If you're tearing the skin fibers of the scalp, of the dermis of the scalp, and you're, causing blood, then, you're probably going to want to put in agent A and agent B, within the first 90 seconds to 2 minutes of doing that. But if you're going slower, and a lot of people do this really, really slow, I would put in the water base first, because the water base is going to absorb faster, and then, which is Serum A, and then put in Serum B, which is the oil base after. A lot of guys, and obviously this is not you, but if you can look at my hair right now, you can see that I have it looks like I have product in my hair. Okay. This is Serum B. So Serum B, when you put it in, a lot of guys comment on this. Chris Gethin talks about this all the time. He uses it as a product. He's like, dude, the best part about Oxano is I don't have to use bullshit products in my hair to push up my hair anymore. I just use Serum B, and it's like this thin, texturized product, and it keeps your hair standing up if that's what you want to do. So that's one of the other advantages. But one thing that, kind of breaking on your show, and there's a little bit about this from some people who have experimented with this, you can also use red light. Okay, because red light therapy.
Somebody was asking about red light therapy.
So red light therapy increases angiogenesis, which again is the increase of red blood cells, red blood flow to the scalp. Right? We remember.
What's the spectrum of red light that you want to use again? Like I know the Joovv lights kind of have it built in. Like is it just by default just get a Joovv light? Joovv is Joov, by the way.
Dude, so the owners of Joovv are good personal friends of mine. So yes, but in truth, and this is Scott, by the way, the owner of Joovv. I mean, they'll tell you that. It doesn't matter. There's people out there now saying that, flicker rate is everything with red light. That's BS. I mean, the smart people that create red light devices and products, as long as it's a good, not some Alibaba that you paid $9.99 for, most red light devices are going to work. But yes, Joovv is standard. It's a gold standard. I have a Joovv. I have a full body Joovv in my house. I even have the portable one, but that's what I would do. Ben, I think now works for the company, and correct me if I'm wrong. And Ben, don't get mad at me if I'm wrong. I think they're BioLite, I think is what he uses. And they got the portables. So you can literally put it on, give yourself 3 minutes, 4 minutes like this, and do that every single day. And so here's where I am on whether or not you're going to get results. 80% of people who have active hair follicles get results. I would classify you as only having some active follicles. You clearly have pieces where you don't have active follicles. And even in the places where you didn't have many, it regrew, right? Now, if you want to...
It's definitely better, because I was going to ask you, it would be definitely better to start using this early phase hair loss than I would be late phase, whatever, I started noticing my hair loss in my early to mid 20s. So had I had a product like this, I use Minoxidil, that thing didn't do anything. That was
worthless.
garbage.
They're all worthless.
Yeah.
They're scams. They're total scams. Again,
But I mean, like this sort of stuff you can put in your scalp like early stage. So if you've got hair still, like like what do? You spray it on your hand and you kind of massage it like through
that's
into
exactly
your
right.
scalp, or
So that's the importance is a lot of guys and women. Again, this works amazing for women that have
yeah, no, you
hormonal
got
hair
pictures
loss.
here on the site of a woman's head as well too, like over
Yep.
here, before and
Yep.
after, and
Yep.
this dude over here clearly
Yeah,
got some
Danny
good
Vega's a
results.
big influencer in Florida. He's had, I mean, you should see what his hair looks like now. That was after 1 month. But anyway, so here's the truth to your question. If you have longer hair and you're in the initial stages of thinning, you definitely can do two things. In about 2 weeks, all Oxano products are going to have a dropper. So right now they're sprays,
okay.
right? But you'll have a dropper. So if you are a woman and you just want to hit in the ends or something like that, you just drop it in your hand, go like this, and boom, right? Rub it in, massage it in. But you hit on it. It's a scalp health product. Okay, so it's not. And Richard, here's more of the scam. And you remember because you and I are similar, almost the same age. Like in the old days, they had the Bosley Hair Institute, and they had like freaking mousse, right? Like they had a mousse product that they would have people put in their hair. That doesn't do jack shit. If you do not get a product that technically will help, and obviously none of those did, but if you have a real product that improves red blood cell flow to your scalp, you have to get it into the scalp. It can't go into the ends of the hair. The follicles will absolutely not help improve the health of your scalp. So the only way you're going to get regrowth is actually to improve the soil. Think of the scalp, the dermis of your scalp is the soil. So you now have to churn up the soil and then get these nutrients that increase, again, angiogenesis, red blood cell formation, collagen synthesis, all these things so that you will improve the health of your natural skin, of your the top of your scalp, so that you regrow the hair. And again, anyone can regrow their hair provided that they reduce inflammation.
Dude,
Now,
even if I did, I mean, like pretty much anybody can do it because I didn't.
well, dude,
I
I would be willing to bet, and I know you're not going to because you look good without hair. But if you did like a serious 1-year deal next year when version 3 comes, because version
I'll tell you
3
what, keep sending me the product and I'll keep using it, and I'll stay off the Prima Ballin during that time. And,
well,
and
I mean,
see what
but
happens.
if we did a test with you, I'm pretty sure that you could regrow your hair to a level where you'd be like, wow.
All right.
Right?
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, like right now, like I can feel a lot more follicles on my head. Like my girlfriend sometimes just sits there, just like kind of like rubbing my head, and she's like, "It feels like you got a little more hair up there now, right?" It's like, it's not obvious, to most people, but I mean, like that small change it's somewhat different for a guy like me to notice, but for guys like you that had more to begin with, or other guys that might have a lot more than you had to begin with, it seems like it works. So, I mean, I can only co-sign it from that perspective. I mean, you guys know that I only talk about stuff that I've got personal experience with. I don't fluff
well, look,
you guys
there are
with
some
bullshit.
people, there are definitely some people that it will not work for. And, they will send me an email or send the company an email and say, hey, man, I gave it my best shot. It didn't work. And again, I'm going to say this, and this is where it's important. If you are a metabolic disaster, if you're obese, if you have any comorbidities, if you're diabetic, COPD, you're a smoker, you drink too much alcohol, any of these things, you have heavy levels of systemic inflammation. Our products imitate or mimic the cellular health of you as the end user. So if you are like Richard or me and you have low body fat and you give a shit about your health, you're going to get better results than somebody who doesn't. So this is not an easy button magic pill potion that is going to regrow your hair. If you're fat and you have massive levels of inflammation, forget it. Don't buy our product. It won't work.
I'll still say this though, man. Like I'm looking at this picture over here. Like you've got slightly more than what I had a few years ago here. Okay.
Exactly.
So, I mean, check it out.